draw a line under it and say, okay, this is what's sold. We owe you this much, which is the agreed percentage of the profit. Analog drum machine and bass synthesizer. And these are great. There's a strong demand for these. Hello, this video is going to be two things. A haul of some really cool stuff that I've got that I'm going to sell on eBay, and a chat about selling on consignment. Because all of the stuff I'm going to show you, I am selling on behalf of somebody else, which is known as selling on consignment. So I'm going to show you the stuff, and as we go, I'm going to share some pros and cons about doing a consignment deal, and some hints and tips. I've done this several times over the years. It is a good way to get stock, but there are some pitfalls, and as we go, I'll talk about the ins and outs of selling on consignment. So let's start by digging into what this is. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you, I won't show you everything from this haul. I'll show you some of it. Most of it is some really interesting electronics. Let's start here. So these are guitar effects pedals. The brand is Mooer. Can you see that? M-O-O-E-R. There are these two without their boxes. Now I've done my initial research, so I'll be able to show you some completeds and give you an idea of price. This Funky Monkey, for example, couldn't find any examples of used ones. Probably going to aim for somewhere around the 30 to 50. I think 50 is really pushing it. Should be a comfortable 30. This E-Lady, again, guitar effects pedals. Completed, as I'll show you on the screen here, 25 to 30 seems about the going rate for one of those. We have two more which have the boxes. This 90 orange, top end again about 35. That's probably where I would aim on that. This one is a groove loop, so I think it's one of those where you can create a loop. A bit more of a demand for this. Looking at completeds, the top end of this used is about 50, so we would probably aim for that. I also have, as part of this haul, the official case, like a carry case, which has space for a whole load of this size and shape guitar effects pedals. So this on its own, if I were to sell it on its own, it's the top end of pushing about 30 all in. So not a great deal. Looking at prices, what I may do on this is sell the loop pedal on its own, aim for the 50. That's the one that has the most demand and the most value from my research. And then perhaps do a lot of these three and the case for 100 plus. That might be one way of doing those. But they're really nice. There is demand. There's some significant value there. So shouldn't be difficult to sell. So why sell on consignment? What is the advantage of selling on consignment? And I suppose the main benefit is there's no initial financial outlay from my point of view. How it tends to work is you are given all of the stuff on the understanding that you are going to sell it, and then you will divide the profit with the owner of the stuff. So my first tip is to be very open and honest up front about how this works. Explain the fees, explain how you're going to divide the profit, what the division is, and when the owner of the stuff is going to receive their money. What I would suggest, if you're going to take on a multiple item lot, as this is, to say, pick a moment in time, let's say 2-3 months in advance, and say at that point, I will let you know what's sold, I'll show you all of the numbers, and I will pay you out then. And just be clear about everything up front, what the division of profit is, when they're going to receive their money, all of those things. If you have a very clear understanding up front, it means you don't have those awkward conversations later when it's like, what do you mean there's like 15% fees? You didn't tell me that. So, sorry, noisy motorbike. So yeah, that's my main big tip. Have a very honest, upfront conversation at the beginning and agree on all of the terms. So let's see some more stock. There's a few cameras. This Nikon Coolpix S3300. It's a good one. It's in lovely, lovely condition. As you can see, fully boxed with all of its gubbins inside. And as you can see on screen here for this exact same red model, it should be a comfortable £100, I would think. Yeah, lovely condition. So we'll be going for 100 on that. And I don't think we'll have any trouble achieving that. This one isn't as great. This is a Polaroid. The model is IX6038. Struggle to find much sales history on this at all. The one I'm going to show you on screen, where's my notes, I think was about 32. And that's a different colour. Yeah, couldn't really find much. I mean, this one is boxed. So maybe I'll put it on at 40 or 50 with offers and just see how we go. But I think more likely we're going to be in the £30 bracket on that. This other one here in a very nice, is it a branded bag? I'm not sure, but it has a little camera bag. It's got its branded strap here. And this is another Nikon or Nikon, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And there it is. So this is it's another Coolpix, isn't it? Coolpix L310 with a nice 21 times zoom, 21 times optical zoom, very nice. They seem to be all over the place from 50 to 100. I will probably put this on at 100 and see where we go. But very nice thing. There is a good demand for it, so shouldn't have any trouble selling it. I'll pitch it maybe at 100 with offers and see what comes in, but that's a nice one. So there's some of the cameras. So if you are thinking of taking on a consignment deal, one thing I would suggest is it's only really worth the time and effort if the items that you're going to be selling have significant value. Let's assume you're doing a 50-50 split, which is fairly common with consignment deals. So you divide the profit between you as the seller and the owner of the stuff, 50-50. That's not going to be worth your while for stuff that's worth 10 or 20 pounds. It's just not worth the effort because you're going to divide the profit in two. So as you can see, most of this stuff here, certainly the cameras, that's a good example, should be £100. So it's well worth your time and effort as the seller to do all of the research, the pictures, the listing, shipping it out, dealing with customer service. All of that effort that you're going to put in is worth your cut. So that's something to bear in mind if you are being offered to sell stuff on consignment. What's the average selling price of the stuff you're going to be selling? It needs to be realistic. There needs to be some good margin in it. So going back to guitar effects pedals, we have this G1X on guitar multi-effects processor. Really nice condition, still in its original box. And we also have the matching bass version, so the B1X on bass multi-effects processor. Now the guitar one seems to have more demand and more value. This should be a comfortable 50 plus on that one. The other one was, I've got pieces of paper everywhere. Where is it? Yeah, I struggled to find many, certainly in the UK, of the base one that had sold, of this exact model. I found one that had sold at about 30. In this condition, lovely box condition, I would probably put it on at 40 or 50 and with offers on. I would expect to get maybe 35, 40 for it. Yeah, but they're nice. It might be something I would do as a pair, but I think these will go better individually. Yeah, so that's those. We'll try those at about 50 and 40-ish maybe, see how we get on. And then this is lovely. This is a cool thing. This is a rhythm wall, so it's an Akai analog drum machine and bass synthesizer, and these are great. There's a strong demand for these. If I show you on screen here, as you can see, regularly selling beyond £100. So 110 is quite achievable on that, particularly because I have the box and it's in lovely clean condition inside. Yeah, that I will have no trouble getting 100 plus. One thing to be aware of if you're going to sell on consignment is you need to keep track of all of the numbers as you go. Now let's say I get all of this listed over the next week. It's not going to all sell immediately, so I've got to keep a little journal, a little log of the items when they sell and track the fees, you know, what it sold for, the fees, the net profit, etc. and keep track of that. Because if you lose track of the numbers, it makes it very difficult when you come to settle up. The other side of this is you need to account for this, for your accounts. So you need a cost. And how we've done this in the past is, well, one example, we sold a really nice leather jacket for somebody ages ago, and I think we got £100 for it. After fees, we divided the net profit. And how we accounted for that, because if you don't have some sort of cost to put through your books, a receipt, if you like, for your costs, you'll be paying tax on the whole of that profit. So what we did was we asked for an invoice. Let's say the net profit was 80 for the jacket, for example, just rounding figures up. So we paid out 40 to the owner of the jacket. We need a bill for that 40. That's our cost. If you like, we bought the jacket for 40. So what we did was we asked her to invoice us for the 40. So in a similar vein with all of this, once we have got to a certain point in time and we have sold it all or most of it or whatever, we will draw a line under it and say, okay, this is what's sold. We owe you this much, which is the agreed percentage of the profit. And then we will ask for an invoice for that. So basically bill us, and then we will pay that amount for the stock. You're basically buying the stock at the end of selling it all, if you like. That's one way of looking at it. So also as part of this consignment is some vinyl. Not just any vinyl, it's Beatles vinyl. I haven't done any research on this, but let me just run through what we have. So the Beatles' second album, isn't that cool? We have With the Beatles. Now, they were saying when they dropped it all off that there's a misprint on here. One of these two has a misprint and it's a little bit more sought after, I believe. I can't remember what it was now. I should have paid more attention. There's a misprint somewhere on the track listing, I think it is. So that's an interesting one. So 2 copies of With the Beatles. There's Sgt. Pepper. Let's see if it still has... Yes, it's still got the sheet in here with the cutouts. Isn't that cool? So there's a Sgt. Pepper. I mean, condition, I haven't looked at any of the vinyl yet. The sleeves, they're not terrible, but they've obviously had a lot of use. There is Hard Day's Night. Rubber Soul. I adore this album. So good. Nowhere Man, Norwegian Wood. Isn't that great? This was one of the first LPs I ever listened to that much because my mother had it. I used to listen to this on her old 1960s, like little, is it called a dance set record player? Yeah, love that album. We also have Help. And this is interesting, the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl. So that's a live LP. and 2 LPs, The Beatles live at the Star Club in Hamburg, Germany, 1962. So that's early, isn't it? That's cool. Gatefold. So again, it will be the same story with these. I will do my research. I will decide the best way to sell these, whether they are all put on individually or we do a couple of lots, whatever I think will be the way to get the best and easiest profit out of those. Get them sold, and then we will divide the net profit with the owner. There was some other stuff, but that's the highlights of it. So you can see a really nice mix and some good average selling price, which is what you need if you're going to sell on consignment. So what I would say about selling on consignment is this: if you can avoid it, I would. It's much easier and better, I think, for you as a seller to buy the stuff up front. But sometimes the seller doesn't want to do that, and sometimes it is mutually beneficial to sell on consignment. No upfront cost to me, which is a big benefit. Also, I haven't had to sit there and work out a price and do all of the research up front. The seller is happy for me to just take it all away and get the most I can out of it. And then the downside is that you've got to keep track of all the numbers, right? Which isn't a big deal. But yeah, if you can, I would say you are better off to come up with a deal, a cash at the beginning deal, so you buy the stock and then you own it and you sell it off at your leisure. But consignment deals have their place. It's mutually beneficial, but make sure that there's enough margin in it to make it worth your while. Just keep in your brain that you're going to divide the profit with the owner of the stuff. So there you go. I hope that was useful and interesting. I need to get busy because all of this stuff needs to be listed. It won't sell itself. This is my part of the job. My part of the deal is to get it sold, and none of it's listed yet. If you'd like to carry on watching me, please check out this video up here. Until next time, ta-ra.